it's time for a kadhai. Are you ready? This week we shall complete Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Part 2. Since it was a lengthy story, I split it into two as Part 1 and Part 2. We finished with the Part 1 earlier, right? So we will complete the Part 2 or we will finish the story this week. So children, do you all remember what we saw previously? Did Snow White survive? What did the Queen do? Do you all remember? Shall we quickly see what happened in Part 1 and start reading Part 2? We'll go ahead, children. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess named Snow White. She lived with her wicked stepmother, who is the queen in the castle. The queen has a magic mirror, okay? And she always checks with the magic mirror if she is the fairest one of all. And the mirror also replies saying that, "Oh queen, you're the fairest one of all." But one day when she checked the same with the magic mirror, the mirror replied saying that, "No, it's not just you, there's somebody else whose name is Snow White. She has hair as black as ebony wood, lips as red as rose, and skin as fair as snow." She got really offended that she immediately asked for a huntsman to kill Snow White. How cruel. No? But you know what happened? The huntsman did not have the heart to kill somebody who is so kind and innocent. So he requested Snow White to run away in the forest and never ever come back. She did listen to the huntsman and she ran away into the forest. She was struggling because the forest was dark and all that, but luckily inside the forest she saw a small house. She entered inside the house and she noticed the house was a little different but dirty. Okay? She saw that there were 7 cutleries, 7 tables, 7 chairs and 7 beds, which were all of small in size. She was wondering who could be living in this house. Anyway, since it was dirty, she cleaned the house and she was hungry, so she cooked as well. And she thought she'll rest for some time. She climbed upstairs and fell asleep by joining 3 small beds together. Okay, now the owners of the house were returning home. Yes, the 7 dwarfs were returning home. Yes, they opened the door and they saw the house looking so different. Yes, it was clean and they smelled food. They wanted to find out who did all this. So they climbed upstairs, went upstairs and saw that there was a beautiful princess sleeping. Snow White woke up and she asked, "Who are you?" And they asked, "Who are you?" So she told her entire story and they all got convinced and she agreed that she will help the 7 dwarfs do all the household work and ensure that everything is done, and they were also very happy to have her. Meanwhile, the queen gets to know somehow that princess is still alive. So she decides to kill Snow White all by herself. Okay, so we're going to see what's going to happen next in Part 2. Shall we read the book? Down in the deepest dungeon of her castle, the queen cast a magic spell to disguise herself as an old peddler woman. Then she prepared a deadly gift for the princess. Chanting a magic spell, the wicked queen dipped a bright red apple into a bubbling pot of poison. One bite of this and Snow White will fall into the sleep of death. She cackled. Only love's kiss can save her, but the dwarfs will think she's dead and bury her alive. The very next day, after the dwarfs had left for work, there was a knock on the door. Snow White opened it and saw an old peddler woman standing there. The woman had a basket full of apples. "Try one, pretty maid," she said, smiling. "They are magic wishing apples. One bite and all your dreams will come true." Thinking of the prince she had met at the castle well, Snow White reached out for the red apple. She took a bite and fell to the floor. "Now I am the fairest in the land," cried the wicked queen before fleeing from the cottage. Luckily, Snow White's forest friends had recognized the queen and fetched the seven dwarfs for help. As the dwarfs rushed towards the cottage, there was a crash of thunder and a mighty storm began. Dog spotted the queen running away. "Quick, after her!" he cried. The dwarfs chased her through the forest and up the mountainside. The wicked queen struggled ahead with the dwarfs right behind her. When she realized she was trapped, she loosened a huge boulder and started to push it towards the dwarfs. But the boulder rolled backwards onto the queen. With a terrible cry, she fell over the side of the mountain, never to be seen again. When the dwarfs returned to the cottage, they found Snow White lying on the floor as if she were asleep. They tried everything they could think of, but Snow White could not be woken. So the seven dwarfs took the princess into the forest. There they built a special bed for her made of glass and gold. The dwarfs kept watch over her day and night. The months slowly passed. Snow White's glass bed was covered with leaves, then snow, and then the blossom of spring, and still she slept. One day, a handsome young man came riding through the forest. He was the prince who had fallen in love with Snow White by the castle well. When he saw the princess, he got down from his horse, leaned over her, and tenderly kissed her. All at once, Snow White's eyes fluttered open. "She's awake!" the dwarfs cried excitedly. The wicked queen's spell was broken. Before Snow White left to begin her new life with the prince, she kissed each of the dwarfs. "I'll come to see you very soon," she promised them. The dwarfs watched the prince sweep his beloved Snow White up into his arms. They knew they would miss her, but they also knew that she and the prince would live happily ever after. The end. Children, that's the end of Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I completely enjoyed reading this book along with you. I'm sure even you did. So children, did vanity win or kindness win? Yes, it is the kindness which always wins, right? So if you notice, the queen was filled up with so much vanity, completely messed up with her mind, right? Whereas the kind-hearted Snow White got new friends, and also the prince who always stood by her, right? And there is a saying in Tamil, children, "Agathin alagu mugathil theriyum." That is, your heart will show who you are. As in, if you're wicked, it will be shown on your face. And if you're kind, you will look so beautiful. So try it out, children. Okay? Be kind and polite to everybody whom you meet. Alright? See you all with the next interesting story, children, the next week. Bye-bye.